Hi everybody, today we're going to be talking about possession in English. As we talk about possession, we'll primarily be looking at the use of have and have got. English speakers use both have and have got to talk about possession as well as characteristics and relationships of people. Have is typical in US English and have got is much more common in British English. Have got has the same meaning as have, and both are used as present tenses. Notice that have got is not the present perfect of the verb get. We use the auxiliary verb do to make questions and negative sentences with have. To make questions and negative sentences with have got, we use have as the auxiliary. So, our office has 3 printers and a high-speed document scanner. Is exactly the same as our office has got 3 printers and a high-speed document scanner. There's no difference in the significance. It's just more commonly some people will use one or the other. And in informal speech, we often switch from one form to the other. For example, how many children does your brother have? He's got 2 children, a boy and a girl. How many sisters do you have? I've got 3. You could repeat, I've got 3 sisters. Do you all have your own bedrooms? Sue's got her own bedroom, but neither Debbie nor I do. So you see in both of those exchanges, people will switch from using one form or the other very, very naturally and without notice and without changes of significance. So pay attention to the common ways that we'll use have and have got with auxiliary verbs and in questions and short answers in the coming examples that I'm going to show you. Have you got an iPad as well as a laptop? No, I haven't. But you've got some kind of tablet, haven't you? Yes, I have. Does the university have enough internship opportunities? No, it doesn't. But you have other ways to apply for them, don't you? No, we really don't. Okay, let's look at have and have got in the past and the future. In the past, we'll either use the past simple, had, or if we're expressing something in the present perfect, we'll use have had, and if we're going to use the past perfect, had had. And then when we look at the future, we're going to use either will have or going to have. Some examples for the past. Did you have a nice apartment last year? Yes, I did. This is past simple. Now, looking at present perfect. Remember, have had is the present perfect form of have, describing possession that started in the past and continues up to the present. Have you had your bike for a long time? Yes, I've had it since I moved to Parma. Have you watched that Spanish TV show, House of Paper? No, I've had it on my list of shows to watch for ages. Now looking at the past perfect. Had is the past perfect form of have, which we use to talk about prior possession that continued up to another past moment. TC revoked Régionaire's operating certificate because the company had had 2 aircraft accidents in similar weather conditions within 1 year. Looking at using have and have got in the future. Have you got tickets for the concert on Friday? No, I haven't, but I'm going to get them soon. Will you have them by Friday morning? I hope so. Now remember that we have that difference between when we're talking about the future using will or the continuous forms, the ing forms. Whenever there's doubt, we're going to use will. In this case, we use will. Have you got any time to help me finish the report? I haven't, sorry. Are you going to have any time later? Sure, I'll probably have some time around 3:30. Okay, so that's a quick review of using have and have got to talk about possession. Now, let's look at have to and have got to when we're not talking about possession, when we're talking about obligation. Now, in this case as well, have to and have got to have exactly the same meaning. Have to is more typical of American English. Have got to is more typical of British English, but it's very common for an American to use have got to, particularly sometimes to emphasize a stronger obligation. So it'll just be something that just switches naturally in order to create a little more focus on the obligation. So, have to and have got to are used to talk about obligation, like must. And remember, like all the other modal verbs, must is only used in the present simple. So as we look at have to and have got to, we want to think about using those in the past and in the future. So, remember that don't have to and haven't got to are different from must not and indicate an option. We'll look at an example of that. So, looking at using have to and have got to talk about obligation, when we go into the past, we must use had to. When we go to the future, will have to, going to have to. Let's look at some examples. So past obligation. Hachette Book Group had to undergo lots of layoffs due to financial concerns in publishing. Future obligation. Analysts are pretty worried that the company will have to declare bankruptcy. In order to become carbon neutral, Apple is going to have to compel the firms in its supply chain to emit less carbon. Now, the negative. Don't have to and haven't got to. This is, we can think of this as negative obligation or something being optional. For example, the company didn't have to pivot during the COVID-19 pandemic, only seeing small impacts to its growth. Didn't have to. It was not necessary. Facebook won't have to notify you that your feedback was used, get your permission to use it, or pay you. So here, won't, will not, talking about the future. Tesla isn't going to have to deal with tariffs in China because of a negotiated agreement. All right, and now going back to possession for a second, I want to remind you, you want to know all of the possessive adjectives. So those are my, your, her, his, its, our, your, and their. You also should know the possessive pronouns. Mine, yours, hers, his, its, ours, yours, and theirs. So these are also ways in which we indicate possession in English. And then also let's look at the possessive S. So we have Susan's office is the same as the office of Susan. But it's much more natural, much more conversational to just say Susan's office. The office of Susan is very, very formal. And you'll use that in certain settings, but not, general spoken English. When we look at using this, we have the company's headquarters. This is one company. Otherwise, the company's headquarters. So this is when you have a plural subject, more than one company. So the company's headquarters. You're going to put the apostrophe after the S rather than before the S. And one other thing, just a fine point, when you have two subjects together and they possess one thing, so for example, Susan and Henry share an office, so Susan and Henry's office. Even though Henry gets the apostrophe S, the office belongs to both Susan and Henry. All right, you'll find a ton more information, of course, on Pinterest, pinterest.com/unblockyourenglish, and you can go there and find out a ton more information about using have got, and talking about possession. Okay.